Great. We have a nice turnout. It's great to see familiar faces and new faces as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and introduce everyone. I see Ud has popped a message. It's great to see Trend Atelier members as well as new names. So essentially, every month in the Trend Atelier community, we explore a theme that we feel is really relevant to our community and also to our yearly theme, which is the biggest innovation is philosophical. And so this month, we decided to focus on waste, biomaterials, and the supply chain. And usually the panels are held privately within the community, but we decided to open them up just for September and October to try and also raise funds for organizations that we admire. So we really, really appreciate our panelists today coming on board with that. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists and also let you know about who we're trying to raise funds for today. So first of all, I want to explain that the reason why we're exploring the interconnectedness of waste, biomaterials, and the supply chain today is that it's really redefining just about everything in the way that we conceive and make hyper objects. And our guests really understand this from the inside, whether it's from a manufacturing and marketing point of view, from a design point of view, from working within a pioneering lab, a leading footwear brand, or being a consultant and educator in the fashion and luxury sector. And obviously, waste is an urgent and global issue, and we're really not aiming here to romanticize the idea of waste and that waste is the panacea of all solutions. But we all know that single-use plastic is a vast problem. And in 2015, according to Greenpeace, we had already churned out by that time 6.3 billion tons of virgin plastic, of which only 9% were recycled. And in parallel, we've been experiencing for quite some years, I've been tracking this for years now, a revolution when it comes to lab-grown materials and lab-grown fashion. So today we are really aiming to navigate the future, the challenges, and we hope to come away with some great insights from our panelists. And so I will introduce our first panelist, Clara Caparelli, who works for Solugi and is originally from Argentina, but is joining us from Denmark today. Clara has a really interesting background, a somewhat almost intimidating background, because she both has she has a chemical engineering with a PhD in chemical engineering from Pennsylvania State University. And not only that, after finishing her PhD, she joined Celogy as marketing and communications coordinator. So she has a really interesting point of view in terms of bridging her extensive scientific experience with her passion for business and entrepreneurship. And so she's going to tell us more about Celogy, but they're essentially developing a nanocellulose-based material that is a replacement for fossil fuel-based materials. Nina, I met a couple of years ago in Portugal, in Porto, most specifically. Nina is the marketing manager at Lemon Jelly, which is a footwear brand that is based in Portugal, but delivers globally. And what's very interesting about Lemon Jelly is that it has a unique understanding of manufacturing from the inside, because it is owned and run by a 50-year-old supplier that's been making soles for the footwear industry for decades and for leading brands. And so they were faced with the waste that they create and develop plastic recycling solutions and many more really amazing solutions that Nina will talk to us about, and in terms of being an insider on the problem and the solutions. And last but not least, Ud from Intada Textile. Ud is a cultural broker, a fashion expert. She's a very dear Atelier community member, which specializes in lingerie, beachwear, and innovative sustainable fabrics. She also manages a number of aspects of designing a sustainable collection, from sourcing to designing and also has master classes, which I can really identify with. So her business is really multifaceted, and she consults for luxury leaders as well as startups, and has worked internationally in Asia, Europe, and in the US. So finally, I'm just going to put a link in the chat and end our intro. But today we are hoping to raise some funds for an amazing organization you may have heard of. They're called Slow Factory, and it's a climate justice and social equity platform that really focuses on open and free education for all, and they specifically focus on regenerative design and materials innovation. So if you want to go check them out, check out their page. They've basically enrolled about 20,000 students who normally wouldn't have access to the type of education that they provide with leading experts in the fields. So now I will jump straight into our questions for everyone. So my very, very first question to you, Clara, Nina, and Oud is, when it comes to the theme in the community, we talked about the idea of wastelessness, which is a word that we sort of made up. And I was wondering if you could tell us what you think that conjures for you, or what that inspires for you. Oud, if you want to start.
Okay. I have to confess that being French, it was not so obvious, for me to get this word. But then I found the conclusion that it's probably having a systemic state of mind and your consumption, both in personal and professional consumption on the supply chain, but also in everything you are managing in your personal life, and keeping in mind that nothing is perfect. But I would say, really thinking with this systemic approach of, do I need it? For how many times I will use it? Does it fit with other parameters of the supply chain? And that's a part of the process I try to implement when I work with customers.
Yeah. So it's almost like becomes your criteria. Like, even though the word is maybe not something you use, you're already like implementing it.
I've never heard or read it before today.
Well, forecasters, we like
I've learned something.
We like to invent our own words.
That's great.
What about you, Clara? What was your thought when I threw that word out to you?
Yeah, I would share the same as being a English as a second language speaker. You have to really get creative in understanding. But I think, it's like the absence of waste in general. And I like that systemic approach, and to kind of relate it to our company, to look at things in a more circular way. And getting away of these kind of like consume and waste processes, and going back into the circular economy, into creating products that at the end of life are wastelessness or disappear.
Yeah, and there's no such, I guess waste as a word is something that is being redefined in terms of, hopefully in the future it will mean something very different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nina, would you share what maybe the word means to you?
Sure. It means a project of life. At the same time, that is a little bit frustrating, as when we put the light on the stem, we start to realize how we waste in so many things. But from the other side, it's exciting to have this challenge every day. So it's a challenge for me every day. I put this like a challenge. So I think it means a path with no return. When we start looking at this, it's a path with no return.
Yeah. And I like it, like they say, I forgot who said this, but there is no way. So, we really have to like completely change our relationship with waste. But I wanted to just segue, now that we've sort of had a little bit of an icebreaker, but in a specific question to Clara, if you could tell us a little bit more about Soluji's work and innovations, because it's really quite a fascinating company.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so Celugy is a Danish-based startup, and we develop biocellulose. Cellulose is the same component that makes up plants and trees, and but we obtain it in a very particular way. So typically, like paper is cellulose, and the way it's obtained is by getting wood biomass and putting it into a very energy intensive process and then transforming the fibers into the desired products. And that is a top down process. And in our case, we grow our cellulose. So there are bacteria that feed on different carbon sources. In our case, it is sugar. And they produce these biocellulose, and it has a lot of advantages compared to the wood, what is called the plant biocellulose, because we grow it. There are different parameters so we can control in the process that will lead to different compositions. With plant biomass, you are defined by the type of cellulose that already exists in the plant. Which doesn't happen in our case. And that is what allows us to go into different applications. So currently, the main applications that we are pursuing, and as a small company, we have to be really focused because there are a lot of incredible ideas and possible ways to go. But at this moment, we have to be very focused. And so our product, which is called EcoFlexi, can be used as a barrier coating for paper, for example, or for textiles, to replace typically fossil-derived coatings. So as you know, these are used to increase the mechanical properties or the water barriers or the oxygen barriers in the case of packaging, or the graze resistance. And these are typically fossil-derived, and our material can be used as a replacement. And what is good is that if the substrate is also cellulose based, so for example, in the case of paper, in the case of textiles, it could be cotton, lyocell, viscose, or these cellulose based textiles, then we convert multi-material textiles or packaging into monomaterials, and then those can be recycled in the current waste streams, and it also has other advantages like no shedding of pollutants. And then it can also be used in personal care applications. So for example, as an ingredient for cosmetics and personal care, it has it can be used to kind of define the texture of the different products, and also replacing fossil-derived ingredients. But there are also other potential applications within food, paints. So really, this is like a very much exploration that we have to do, and then also again focus a little bit to scale up and then become hopefully a company that can be the new mainstream of how we treat products, or how we treat additives, and then hopefully we will be transitioning into these bioeconomy or nature inspired materials.
That's such a huge solution, because there's some really great innovations in terms of textiles, but the minute they get a coating, they're no longer fully sustainable.
Yes, exactly. We see that a lot in the case of the
huge with what you're talking about, essentially, because especially for those who may not know monomateriality, but that's the huge component of how we can become more circular. And that this is actually a great segue into my question for Nina, because you very much approach monomateriality as well. But could you tell us a bit more about Lemon Jelly's circular manufacturing initiatives? I visited the factory all the way back in 2019, but since then there have been more developments. And if you can tell us a bit more about what is your biggest commitment that you aim to communicate to people? Because obviously you're the marketing manager, but you're also, you really understand the life and the story of lemon jelly and all of the hard work it's been doing. Oh, I think we can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry. Sorry. So the sustainability is not a trendy word for us at Lemon Jelly, because I can see in our routine that everybody is looking for this in the small and big details. And this was one of the reasons I fell in love with the brand, the concern about the sustainability. The Wasteless Act, that now we call Recycle Lemons, was the first range that we create with our own waste. But before that, and I think is the biggest commitment we have, is our history. Because as you said in the beginning, we are part of a group with more than 15 years, and our local production is in Portugal. So we respect the European laws on the health and safety of workers and the protections of the environment. The company decided always to keep the industrial project in Portugal for social and sustainability reasons. We take care of our people, of our community. For an example, we support over the years the Porto Pony Club, that it's a non-profit organization working in social integration of children with special needs. And in the factory, we use of 100% of recyclable materials, use of 100% of renewable energy. We have 900 solar panels in the factory. This means less 150 tons of CO2 emitted per year. Our manufacture process is a dry process, so the water that we use in the production process is in a closed cycle to promote reuse. And we are PETA approved vegan. We just revalidate the certificate this year, and we are always keep moving.
Yeah. I know that when we met, this PETA approval was taking a long time to get, and you had also given me a tour looking at all of the air quality systems in the factory and the different challenges of recycling different types of plastics and how to be able to make that happen. And also we talked about a bit about this, but there's some really interesting technologies that you've developed and innovations.
Yeah, our departments are always looking for new solutions because we are talking about plastic. And as you said before, we have a huge problem with single-use plastic, but we use a very quality product, and we are able to recycle every material that we work in the fabric. So we are always looking for solutions to deal with our own production, not only the waste, but what happens after the product is on the market. So we are always looking forward to new technology and new ways to improve these.
I think you have a take back system as well now.
Yes, we do. We have the Closing the Loop project, that we are able to receive old boots and bring them a new life, because what is for almost everybody is like garbage, for us is material, is raw material to work again. So we are totally able to reintroduce this material that is already used by the clients again in the production. So now we have this project that it's in the beginning, and we are happy because we have some pairs that came back for us, but it's not a high number because as our product is a quality product, we don't have many people wanting to send them back. and this is very good. But we are looking for the future, because we know that in some space, people will want to, I don't want this product anymore, so we can do another thing with the shoe.
So it's really educating the as well and reminding them of this. But speaking of educating, I guess I wanted to get to our next panelist, Oud, because you've really put sustainable fashion at the center of your work, and I've been familiar with your agency for a couple. I think we met maybe like 2 years ago or something
Pretty much,
around
yeah.
that time. And so you're both a consultant and you have your school. And I'm just really curious in terms of when clients come to you for advice and a bit of hand holding when it comes to the to sustainable sourcing, like what do they expect from you?
Well, first, it depends which kind of customer, because I have very different and specific type of customers. If it's a big group, they are all looking for specific advice. They also are looking for someone being able to both take in account their own context, because not everyone has the same possibility of action. And at the same time, they are in need of someone being able to think outside of the box. And because I'm coming for a short time or a long time, whatever, I'm not already totally molded in what they are used in their process. So they are looking for that. They are clearly looking for creativity, someone who has the time to make all the homework they don't have the time to. So, it's the press review, being able to check the new laws. And talking about circularity, in France, there is something very specific happening in the market from January next year. It's called the AGEC law. It's anti-waste circular economy law. And it will be totally forbidden to destroy any leftovers for any kind of brands. So lemon jelly solution would be perfect for the shoe industry, then when it's a school, they are coming to me to be able to share my experience, to help them to get ready the next generation of designers and people making purchasing and stuff like this. And same when I write our articles or conferences or masterclasses, they are looking for advices, experience, a global overview, and some specific expertise. As you said at the beginning, I'm coming from a very specific industry because I'm coming from lingerie, sportswear, beachwear, surfwear, those kind of things. So it's a mix of experience and freedom, let's say.
So you're saying it's a mix depending on also what level they're at, that whether they're really just starting their journey or they're more experienced. I suppose that for many it's like, where do I even begin, and I think working with an expert like yourself would be really helpful in just kind of starting to put the right foundations in place, especially for startups, because
absolutely,
with companies might have bigger budgets, but it's harder to undo all the things.
Exactly, that's very true. There is some of my customers which are DNVBs, so they are very young in the industry. Most of them doesn't have any textile or fashion backgrounds, and they need to have someone along them to help them in making decision in by what do I start, and if I have to sacrifice and to give up on things, why do I give up to, and what is the priority? Those kind of things. Yeah. So that's very global.
Yeah. I guess it's interesting the fact that you're located in France. I mean, I know you have international clients. I think France is doing some really pioneering work in terms of legislations for the fashion, specific to not just the waste in general and taxing on recycling and all these things, but also the fashion industry. And I remember years ago telling clients who were just treating sustainability as a quick trend, and I was like, no, someday laws will force you to do this. And it's really, France is piloting that in a way, and as Frenchies, I feel quite proud of that. Although, it's not a perfect world either, but I'm digressing because I'm realizing that we have so many things that we wanted to cover. But I also wanted to ask Clara because of in terms of your the way you're bringing communications with your technical experience. Like how do you bridge that in terms of communicating what Celergy does? Because I remember years ago talking with the head of marketing with a leading footwear brand, and they were saying, we're finding more and more that our R&D department, our design department needs to speak very closely with our marketing team because the consumer is becoming so educated about materials and have very specific questions. So yeah, I mean, what led you to kind of make that shift?
Yeah, so it was after finishing my PhD, it was a question of where do I go next, and I really wanted to be in a position that would allow me to see some of the science get out to the real world. So a lot of what happens in academia, stays. Of course, basic science is extremely important, but a lot of stuff in academia stay, in a paper, stay in a journal. And I really wanted a job that would allow me to actually be part of, taking that science and putting it out in the world for real solutions. And so I found this company, and I took the chance to say, I have a very interesting background, maybe even for the technical part, but I really want to work in communications, in business. And actually, we find that it's almost a must to have a technical background and be in this kind of position, because there are a lot of things that can be trained. Negotiation you can train, and even marketing. Like I don't have a background in marketing, but it's important to speak correctly about our science. Our company is extremely R&D intensive. So a lot of the work actually that we do now is mostly R&D. So I have to understand what's going on in our R&D department, what's going on with our product. And I also have to understand from our potential customers or collaborators, what are the pain points? And we are a B2B company, so we sell to other technical companies. And it is crucial to understand their pain points from a technical point of view. And then also in terms of communicating. So initially I started as a media and communications coordinator. So I was dealing mostly with the social media and trying to get our message out there and writing our blogs. And that was also very important to be able to understand what we're talking about, right? So we find that we have to be very precise and very transparent with the technical aspect of our product development, and having this background is very relevant.
Yes, I guess also being able to communicate it in a way that people can understand, that people at various degrees of knowledge can understand. And as people become more and more aware of the climate crisis, they will have more and more questions, and some like very specific questions. But even when it comes to the designer, some people here are designers or they're working at retail level, they're forecasters. I suppose the designer, it's not just marketers, but also designers need to also really understand the nature of these new materials that are alive. I mean, when we were preparing for the panel, you were saying some funny stories about what you do to the bacteria to generate. I mean, we're talking about live beings also producing this material for us, and you kind of factory worker in a way. Um,
Yes, definitely. And then as during my PhD, you have to explain also your science, which it goes even more technical to different audiences. So it may be to very technical audiences or to less technical audiences. So that already gives a little bit of training that then can be used in different positions.
Absolutely. But when I know that with you, Nina, that I'm sure with the many years that lemon jelly, the company that owns lemon jelly has been existing and then creating lemon jelly, and then you've been with lemon jelly for years. Like, if you could tell us a bit about some of the successes, but also the challenges in having to campaign and put the message out there. If there's something you could share, I mean, how do you feel things have evolved?
I think the big challenge is that we start as a fashion brand, and now we are trying to put the sustainability into this world. So sometimes when we do a model with our waste, they have like small details that people can detect that is not a virgin material. So this is a challenge because people need to understand that the quality is the same, but has some this in the design of the product we have some changes, and we are now fighting for this. So we are trying to develop better all the material to this don't appear so easily, but at the same time we are trying to how can I say, to teach our public about the sustainability, because they were not, we not start as a sustainability brand. We started as a fashion brand, and now we look inside and see, oh, how many things we do in sustainability. Now let's talk about this. Let's explain. Let's try to create a movement to show how we can do better with plastic if we are working with a durable material with a high quality, produced in Europe. So this is a challenge for us, but it's a very nice challenge because we have the chance to change the mindset of the people in fashion. So this is a great opportunity for us, and we are very excited to create new technologies and to put fashion into the sustainability.
Do you think that if there might ever be a time where you might share some of the technology that you do? I know for example, I have, some people are starting to even open source aspects of how they design certain factories. Or do you think there's a future for that? Not necessarily for lemon jelly, but I'm just curious in terms of some of the things you're innovating and teaching the consumer, but even in your systems and the way you really did your whole supply chain, is that something that you're sharing with others as well?
We are, but we are more inside now. We are trying to in every department. We have not. It's not about the marketing team or the design team or the R&D team. We are trying to put everybody together first to understand all the chain, for then explain to the others. But something that is very important to us, that we always communicate what we can demonstrate. So our campaigns, it's about what we really do. We don't talk about something that we can't demonstrate. So we can always invite people to come over the fabric and see, just like you did in the past. We are very comfortable to have some of our B2B clients or the press to go inside the factory and see how we do, but not we don't open this for now to the customers, to the final customers.
Yeah, but that's interesting because with the plague of greenwashing, people are saying focus just on what you do. This whole idea of woke washing and greenwashing, just focus on what you're good at, and that's exactly what you're not trying to do everything and be the most sustainable in everything, but you really have your your expertise. But I want to move on just into speaking of teaching to Ud, because part of the work that you do is educating on the sustainable fashion sourcing, and you run master classes, and you've really dedicated a whole part of your business now to essentially communicate your wealth of experience and a kind of curriculum that you do. And I see a lot of synchronicities with Clara and Nina in terms of making it approachable, making it understandable, making it inviting, simplifying it, and making it also realistic, even if it has to be in stages. And I guess one of the reasons people don't go into sustainability sometimes is they're afraid to do it wrong, and then it's some type of PR disaster. And I'm sure, like with lemon jelly, that can be tricky sometimes with the fact that you're fully using plastic. Everyone's got an opinion about plastic, and just in general, we're in a world where everyone has an opinion. So it's really nice, Aude, that in your course you approach that as well, the sort of transparency aspect and the message, and just trying to get to the key places first without having to try and do everything. People can then decide to specialize in just one thing.
Absolutely. And if I may say, previously Clara said something very interesting. They don't have the key most of the time, big brands, because now the new makers of fabrics, they are scientists, they are engineers, and they are not thinking the same way of you, and they are super fast and super efficient in making up new products.
Yeah, and I was aware of this when I said biomaterials. There's a whole, people publish lexicons and sort of nice reports with all the right terms for sustainability, but we need also those types of words for biosourcing or biomaterials or eco, whatever, lab-grown materials. I mean, we have so many different words, and I feel like it leads to misconceptions as well. And if I had to go back to school, I studied textiles.
So do I.
My experience would be very different. I would be having to know some science, and that would be very challenging because I wasn't that good at science. so I'm kind of glad I'm not a student right now, a textile student. But it is really fascinating, though. Not to make it a joke, it is really a very incredibly challenging time, but we are also so lucky to all be, a part of this and shaping the foundations of it. So I guess I wanted some time for Q&A, so I don't know if everyone has questions they want to ask. We will have 10 minutes for Q&A, but just to kind of, for everyone, if you had one advice to give people on starting their sustainability journey, what would it be?
I can go ahead.
Yeah.
This is on a personal level, if that's okay. I mean, not very related to my work, but maybe to Denmark in particular. But since moving here, I really I found this app that's called Too Good To Go. I don't know if people know it, because I know it deployed in some countries.
It's so great. Yeah.
It's Danish, and I really love it. So basically, the concept is supermarkets, restaurants, whatever, can prepare a bag of goods that they are about to expire. And this concept is not new, of course. I know in the UK, supermarkets used to do it, like to put the prices really low. But and then you take you buy a bag, and really. It's way cheaper, and then it doesn't go to waste. For me, yeah, it was great. But I would say in a personal or in a professional level, I think education is key. So it is okay to say that we don't know something, and then educate ourselves. And I think that sometimes, as I mean, everything goes so fast, right? So it's really, we sometimes have to take the time to really educate ourselves about about things in particular. For example, in our case, when we're going into the textiles market, there's a lot of learning for us as well. So we really have to look into things that we've never faced before.
Yeah. And I guess the fashion industry itself is a beast unto its own. It's not like the food industry. You're trying to work with your material that you're developing can move across industries. So
Yes.
if you had like I guess this question is more for Nina and Clara, but if what do you think are the biggest misconceptions in terms of biomaterials for you, Clara, and in terms of plastics and recycled plastics with you, Nina?
Yeah, for us, it's not everything bio is good. So I actually will take it on the negative side, but when we have to benchmark our product, for example, or we have to explain the advantages, a lot of people go into, oh yeah, but we have bio PET, or we have bio PP. So it's we have to look at the whole, the life cycle of the product in particular, not because it is sourced from natural sources, it's necessarily good. Then the process that it undergoes may require a lot of energy, solvents, chemicals involved, a lot of waste. And so, the bio and in general, all these natural organic works, are getting a little bit, are losing sometimes a little bit of their weight because sadly, some companies use it, for greenwashing. And so we really have to have good scientific proofs and good claims that really back up what we claim our product is.
Yeah, and you, Nina, Aude, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I cannot agree more with what Clara just said, and something which is very paradoxal, but most of the time I hear like biomaterials are biodegradable, as if it were an automatic thing. It is not, because there is so many layers going into the process. If there are wrong component finishings or dyes which are not biodegradables, or any kind of other things in the process, they are not biodegradable. So they are great materials. Be careful of the global context.
Yeah. What about you, Nina, in terms of what are the kind of misconceptions you face when you're talking about lemon jelly, dealing with the social media campaigning and the end user, the questions or things that come up in general?
I think about the material because with the recycled materials, people sometimes associate it with lower quality. So maybe in the past, but nowadays with the technology, recycled materials can have the same quality as virgin materials. So I think this is something that people sometimes make some confusion, and the number of times that the plastic can be recycled, because our plastic can be recycled for many times without changing the quality of the product that we will prepare after. So I think this is the two highlighted points.
It's true, because people often think that you can't recycle plastic that often, but it's really fascinating, because when all of you three who are really inside, in the backstage doing all that work, and each one of you are talking about education, and we all know that we need to make less, we need to design less, but we have so much time to dedicate to learning and implementing transparency. And until these things can maybe be automated by artificial intelligence or some type of blockchain or digital footprint that can have all of that information, there's so much opportunity to shift things in the industry, to really educate ourselves about materials, etc. And I think for designers, that's if I was designing today, I would try to really focus on educating myself on how to understand the new materials, but also implement transparency. And I guess we have time for some question and answer if everyone wants to send them in the chat. And I guess, whilst you prepared the questions in the chat, we did have a question of I've shared in the chat, the best links to find the panelists. So do connect with them. Do check out. I've posted on Aude at Antada Textile has a great newsletter as well. I've posted all Celogy's information and lemon jellies. But whilst everyone prepares the question, because you must absolutely take advantage of our panelists today. I think we have a message here. Maeve says, I feel like those two networks felt like groundwork for the future, even though they really are old-fashioned in a way. Old-fashioned plus technology can be such an amazing combo when thinking about sustainability solutions, I think. What do you mean by that, Maeve? Maybe you can just speak instead of typing.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, Too Good To Go and sort of the other community swapping networks. And like, that is such an old fashioned concept, right? I mean, it really is something that people did in decades past, right? And then when you combine it with the ability for people to network using technology, it kind of turns technology into a tool for, genuine sustainability rather than constantly creating. It's just another way, obviously it's separate from the sort of material issues, but I just thought it was such a cool thing. I had no idea how many things people would want that would otherwise go to landfill. And I thought, what if this were implemented on a larger scale or used like a model for community sharing were used by brands, for instance, in some way. I just felt like there has to be a way to extrapolate this like community sharing outwards to help us like swap raw materials too. What if brands did this with excess raw materials or something? I mean, I know it's different than biodesign, but it was just a comment on the networks we were talking about.
If I may, Geraldine, I do have a customer which is working on that. It's a B2B platform. It's called Upside Bomb. They are French people coming from textile industry and manufacturing industry, and they set up this business last year to fight the waste of dead stock fabrics in factories. So it's a big leverage because it's linked brands and factories or sister brands into them, because as I said, most of the time in big groups, the sister brands, they are not talking to each other. And this is an online and application platform. It's called Upside Bomb. I'm putting it into the chat.
That's so amazing. I mean, I really feel like something that I proposed in the MA program I was supposed to do last year that was like, what if you networked so that people could either swap time in factories or like, so not everybody's producing at the same time. And, they all had a register of what we had on stock and using, et cetera. Like, and everybody's like, you are completely insane. I'm so glad to hear this. Like, wait, wow. I'm going to look for the link now.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for posting that.
And they also have like a specific network system, like a LinkedIn system. So also if you are looking for something which is not yet in the application, you leave a message, someone can answer to you. It's really well made.
Wow.
Everybody needs to be working together. Oh, it's so great. Thank you.
There have been startups that were like dating agencies for materials, but it was only addressing one aspect, and we're realizing that it's so much more complex. Susan also had a question, just pulling it up. Susan Muncy. Love that recycled materials can have the same qualities as new materials, Nina. What do you think of Boris's recent comments about recycling not being as important as other climate initiatives related to energy? Boris, meaning our dear Prime Minister, Boris Johnson.
I don't agree with him. I truly believe that we can recycle plastic, and it's a good way to take care of the environment. And I can talk about our plastic that we work in our fabric, not because the plastic has a huge line of material. But in our fabric, what we saw was that we have some waste in the production because we do quality products, and even the machines, they waste some material. And the way we develop to reuse this material, it's worth for the environment, so we don't have to have more material. We already have it. We don't have to put in the trash. So I truly believe that we must continue recycling plastic, but I think we have to keep posted in everything that are being creating. So yeah, Clara.
Oh, no, but I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to add, because maybe, for example, in the case of paper, right? Because I don't know the context of the question, like what he meant by recycling, like in general, of like specifically for plastics. But we know for the case of paper or cellulose fibers, that it can be recycled, of course. And actually, paper is one of the materials that has the highest recycling rate. I think it's about close to 80% in Europe. But the problem is that the fibers start to break down, and then the mechanical properties of the final products are not the same. So you can have, of course, 100% recycled products, but then those ones sometimes, end up in the waste stream, not in the recycling, because of the mechanical properties. And companies sometimes do need fresh fibers in order to maintain the mechanical properties. So, for example, in our case, one of the applications of our product is as a strengthener for in the pulp making process. So it can be used as a coating, but also in the pulp making process can be used as a strengthener. And our hope with that is that we give the fibers a little bit of a longer cycle. So recycling, I think it's a great technology, and we should put more effort in making it more of a perfect system, because also we have a lot of the infrastructure already. But I would agree in the sense that we have to look into a little bit outside the box as well. So it can be recycling, and also, maybe it can be to looking at new materials. So like a combination, of a lot of different efforts, not necessarily that one has to be dumped altogether because of its flaws.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point everyone and also we're gonna have to wrap things up, but that was such an amazing point. And when you said, the way I understand what you're saying is that it's not a binary issue, and that we have to think outside the box in terms of materials. And we know that these are solutions for today, and things will evolve, and we need to think long term, but we also need to act fast. But also in terms of thinking outside the box, there's a project we came across today, and it's this type of pilot model for a village. It's being piloted in Austria, but it's all about creating on the village's existing social structures and self-reliance and trust and everything to create a fully circular. We talk about education. People have to trust. They have to be willing to put in the work. They have to have an understanding of the greater good for their community. And I think if we can pair things like what Lemon Jelly is doing, or Celogy or Oud, with also infrastructure and cities and just everything together, this is where we're going to reach just massive momentum. So we could keep talking about this forever, because I could see Lemon Jelly partnering with the city of Porto, or doing amazing things in terms of really these amazing programs around materials. But I guess we have to wrap it up. But I'm just going to share one last time Slow Factory's link if you want to check them out. They are an amazing organization and giving so much for free. So they really deserve a small donation. And also I want to say a special thank you to Nayara for who's here with us, for helping coordinate tonight and introducing us to the wonderful Clara. And thank you, Ud. Thank you, Nina, for sharing your knowledge today. It was incredibly interesting, and could have sat here with you talking for at least another hour. So thank you everyone for joining, and I will be sharing probably a replay on YouTube. And
Thank you for making it happening.
yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Nayara really helped with that. But yes, it's important for us as a community to talk about these things. And obviously we know these are complex issues, and we're not going to solve everything in 1 hour, but by talking about them and the challenges and solutions, hopefully it makes things click for people. And I know that just in some of the links you shared today, we already learned a lot. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for the space and for very lovely evening.
Yeah.
Nina, I want to come to visit your factory.
Yes, please. It will be a pleasure. Please write.
My next trip to Porto.
Yes, you will love it, and you will love the everything about it. Okay, well, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and we will be in touch.